I'm going to start this video a little different than normal. Usually I have some witty introduction that flows smoothly into a thank you to my patrons, which are on screen right now, and then flows right into the top 5 feats of my class, maybe starting with some honorable mentions, but no. No, this time we're starting with something special. We're starting with the Pathfinder 2e Barbarian dishonorable mentions, going to every single level 1 feat besides Sudden Charge. I hate level 1 Barbarian feats. Barbarians get amazing feats in this game, but their level 1 is not great. And normally this wouldn't be such a big deal. It's level 1, the feats don't have to be that great, but some classes get incredible level 1 feats, like the Fighter and the Ranger, but the Barbarian is the class where if you pick the right combination of ancestry and subclass, you can take 3 first level feats at level 1. And they all suck! Why is there a subclass for Barbarian whose big bonus is getting a bonus level 1 feat, but they don't have any good level 1 feats? With that out of the way, and people angrily typing in the comments how much they love Raging Thrower, welcome to my top 5 feats for the Barbarian in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Let's get into it. I want to start off with a very simple honorable mention for something that would have been on this list if I didn't already give it to another class. Intimidating Strike is absolutely insane on the Barbarian. Being able to set yourself up to lower their armor class is great, and it benefits the rest of your party. On a normal hit, frighten a target, insane feat. It is better on the Fighter because Fighter has higher accuracy, meaning they are more likely to critically hit, getting that Frighten 2, but it's still just crazy. 2 actions to attack anyway at your full bonus to Frighten on a hit, insane. If it was not already on my Fighter list, it would have been in this top 5. But now let's jump into my list proper with feat number 5, Oversized Throw. Everybody wants to play that character who can pick something big up and throw it at an enemy, and if you want that, Oversized Throw on a Barbarian is the way to do it. For 2 actions, you pick up something big next to you, a wagon wheel, a boulder, a chunk of the earth, and you throw it. This is a 1d10 bludgeoning damage thrown weapon with a 20-foot range increment, which hilariously means if you're 100 feet away, you can still throw this, it's just at a -8 to hit. This is a really cool feat, because as long as your GM is willing and able, they're probably going to say, yeah, you can pick up a chunk of earth and throw it, so you sort of always have a weapon, where for 2 actions, you get a 1d10 throwing weapon. Remember, throwing weapons add strength, so it's 1d10 plus 4. The downside is that this is level 4, it's not really going to be that great until level 7 when it's 2d10 plus strength plus weapon specialization. That's a little bit better, and you can't add runes to this. It's not a weapon, you can't put runes on a boulder. Regardless, it's fun. Is it ever going to be super optimal? No, because it's unfortunately still a dexterity attack roll, so unless you at level 5 are going to bump your dexterity up to a +4, it's going to be inherently less accurate than your melee weapons, and again, it probably doesn't have runes on it unless your GM is cool and lets you put runes on a boulder before you go out. That would be hysterical. It's not going to even have a potency rune giving it +1 to hit. It's going to be a tough sell. Honestly, this feat is not good. It's just really funny, and sometimes that's all it takes to get on this list. On the same subject, I'm gonna add another honorable mention here just at the last minute to Friendly Toss. It's sort of like Oversized Throw, but instead of dealing damage with your throw, you throw an ally and they land next to somebody and attack them. It's really, really funny. I think it's too high level to be worth what it does, but it is really, really cool. Honorable mention. My 4th place feat breaks a lot of rules on my list. It's a higher level feat, so most Barbarians aren't going to gain access to it, and it's locked behind one specific subclass, which means it's less universally applicable to most Barbarians. But I have loved this feat since the Barbarian came out in the original core rulebook for Pathfinder 2nd Edition in 2020. It's Spirit's Wrath. What's not to love about this feat? It is a single action to make a strength-based attack from up to 120 feet away to deal damage equal to 4d8 plus your Constitution modifier, and this actually does come with an inherent item bonus. It's restricted to +2, which kinda sucks. I don't know why it doesn't just scale with like the rune on one of your weapons or something, but it does come with a +2, meaning at level 12, this is just as accurate as your normal melee raging strikes. This is huge for the Barbarian, because otherwise the Barbarian gets very, very little ranged options between this and Oversized Throw. I guess you can count the Giant Instinct's reach as a ranged option, but only barely. I love that this applies Constitution to damage. That's super cool. It was one of the only things using Con before we got Kineticist in a way like this. And if you deal a critical hit, not only does it do double the damage, but it also just inflicts Frightened 1. It's rad. And it's not like this is a flourish or anything. You can do this 3 times in 1 turn if you want. It does take your attack penalty, obviously, but it's great. It's solid. The biggest problem with Spirit's Wrath is that it does fall off later and later and later. It'll always be useful because it is a 120-foot ranged attack on a primarily melee class, but the fact that the item bonus doesn't go down, the damage doesn't get any better, and you never apply rage or weapon specialization definitely holds it back, but it's going to be a great tool in your kit, especially for that like 12 to 16 area of your campaign. You know, I just mentioned them in the last feat, so let's go ahead and talk about my third favorite feat, Giant Stature, and by extension, Titan Stature. Being able to become large and huge is such a cool gameplay mechanic, mainly because of the reach you get as a primary melee class who does bonkers damage and is balanced around the fact that it has to be melee. Gaining a 10-foot and then 15-foot reach is crazy. And I'm gonna throw this in here as well because I just think it's all designed to work this way. You throw Giant's Lunge on there and you are a huge creature whose melee attacks have 25-foot reach. Can we talk about that? That is the range of some cantrips, basically. Why not throw Reactive Strike on there too, just for fun? You just dominate the battlefield. 25-foot reach in all directions with Reactive Strike. You don't even have to move. Imagine that with like Whirlwind Strike. You are hitting anything and everything and somehow not hitting your friends. It's such a cool build. It's very simple is the only reason it's number 3 and not number 1 is because being a big boy is super cool, but that's all you do. If you're spending so many of your feats on Giant Stature, Titan Stature, Giant's Lunge, that's 3 of your feats that are just becoming bigger and gaining a bigger reach, which is absolutely worth it, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're blowing people's heads up like the Psychic. You also don't get access to those really big reaches until really high levels, so they're not quite as universally applicable to all campaigns. Unlike a certain level 4 feat, which is my second favorite Barbarian feat, because you know me, I love more damage, I love more attacks for less risk of multiple attack penalty. My second favorite feat for the Barbarian class is Swipe. It's simple, but what can I say? 2 actions to attack 2 creatures who are adjacent to each other and within your melee reach, and if you have the sweep trait, you apply that bonus to both attacks. Insane. You attack once, apply it to both armor classes, you deal the damage to both of them, you don't have to worry about multiple attack penalty on a class who just wants to land 1 good hit per turn with their rage damage dealing so much. Being able to hit 2 enemies at once, insane. I'm trying to find more synonyms for crazy, cool, and powerful. Insane has been my go-to for a while. I also use wild. There's only so much to say about this. You're going to want to use this as often as possible. This is one case where it is really worth controlling the battlefield for another person to set 2 enemies adjacent to each other with a reposition or a shove, just so the Barbarian can get their swipe off. Swipe is an insanely powerful feat. Anything you can do to hit more enemies without risking higher penalties of multiple attacks will always be a powerhouse, especially as low as level 4. But there can be only one favorite Barbarian feat. Let me remind you what my grading categories are on. Overall power of the feat, it needs to be really strong and really impactful. It has to be really fun to use. When you use this feat, it needs to feel like you are just going into the character and living that class fantasy. And it needs to be universally acceptable. Acceptable? Accessible. It's late at night, I apologize. It can't be locked behind a subclass, and it needs to be available at lower levels. And there is one feat for the Barbarian that just gets a 10 out of 10 for all of these grading scales. You know what it is, because if you've ever made a level 1 Barbarian, you chose this feat. Remember, at the beginning of this video, I dishonorably mentioned all the other level 1 feats. Acute Vision, oh boy, a class feat to get Dark Vision. Adrenaline Rush, a class feat to carry more stuff and get bonuses to athletics, I guess. A class feat to get a +2 status bonus to specific saving throws. Moment of Clarity, that sucks. Raging Intimidation, just to be able to demoralize while raging. Raging Thrower, adding your rage damage to thrown weapons. None of those are worth a feat. Raging Thrower should be part of the base class. Fight me. There's one level 1 feat left. That's so powerful that it is picked by 90% of barbarians, specifically unless they want to be a thrown weapon barbarian. I'm obviously talking about Sudden Charge. Sudden Charge is ridiculous. You're already playing a barbarian who at level 3 gets a bonus 10-foot move speed while raging, and Sudden Charge for 2 actions lets you stride twice and strike at the end of your movement. Assuming you've got a base move speed of 25, then 2 actions move 70 feet and attack a creature? On the barbarian? That's insane. If a creature is 70 feet from you, it should be your entire turn to move up to them. But a level 3 barbarian can just sudden charge, be up to them, and attack, and still have a 3rd action left over. Sudden charge is ridiculous. I do think its sister feat, Defensive Advance, is mechanically stronger than Sudden Charge, but Sudden Charge specifically on the Barbarian, who just wants to be in melee hurting people, that's crazy. That's crazy. And there you go. Compared to yesterday's video with the 1-syllable challenge, this was a whole lot easier on me. I took it nice and easy. We just talked like normal about the different Barbarian feats. This was oddly one of the hardest classes to cover in this entire series so far. I don't know if I just had like an off couple of days, but it was tough to find things to talk about. It wasn't hard to find top feats. Barbarians get fantastic feats after level 1, but the class itself is so simple. You bonk. You big bonkus. Thank you so much for watching. I want to give another huge shout out to all the members of the No Net One's Patreon page. If you want to get your name on that list, there's a link in the description where you can pledge for $1, $5, $10, or $20 a month. They all do the exact same thing. They just support me a little bit more. Thanks so much for watching and enjoying No Net November. And I'll see you tomorrow for some more information on the murder of my old chair.